What's up, everybody? Happy surprise emergency podcast today here on At Large Bid here on the 48 Minutes Basketball Network. I am Tim Daniel, hanging out as always with Taylor Bergfeld, and this one it's tough. All right, so the news comes out today that Xavier and head coach Travis Steele have mutually agreed to part ways. I was literally 10 feet away from Travis Steele last night in a post-game press conference at midnight after they played Cleveland State in the NIT, and now he is no longer the coach at Xavier. And Taylor, there's so many different angles we can take here. But I think the obvious one is, the pattern told the story in and of itself. In his 4 years there, he was 70 and 50. He didn't play in it. His team did not play in an NCAA tournament. Apparently, they say that had they not had the season canceled in 2020, they would have been in. I don't have anything to show that's accurate or proof of it, but they also kind of had a rough stretch at the end of that season as well.
Didn't they lose to DePaul? You were at that game, right?
Yeah, that was the last game that finished before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, last season they beat number 10 Seton Hall. Was it Seton Hall? No, it was Creighton. Whoever was top number 10 at the time. Yeah, it was Creighton. And then they kind of fall apart from there, losing the first round to Butler this year, losing the first round to Butler, win 2 games in February. And you're playing in the first round of the NIT in front of what they said was 1,100 people, but was definitely not 1,100 people. I was there. We all kind of could have stood up and said something about ourselves. That's how many people were there. But for me, the way I'll put it is like, I grew up in this world of being in these past 5 years, it's being credentialed Xavier. It's my favorite place to work a game. I absolutely love being around the program. And I wouldn't know if I would say Travis and I were friends by any means, but I think we had a great, professional relationship. And, I grew as a journalist with Travis Steele as the head coach at Xavier. So now it's like this thing's over. Like Paul Scruggs, I've been on the beat as long as Paul Scruggs has been at Xavier. And now there's a world where whatever happens in their next game, whether it's Iona or Florida, if they lose, I never cover a Paul Scruggs game again. So it's just a crazy, crazy turn of events, and just kind of curious as the outsider looking in, the non-Xavier fan here, just kind of your thoughts on how you see it, especially someone who covers college basketball is around as much as you are.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends like you and others that are Xavier fans, and I think I'm more looking at it as a negative light of it with Steele is that the pattern, like you said, has not been acceptable, and many Xavier fans are frustrated with him and say, "Hey, man, he's got to go," and blah blah blah. But I don't think they truly believed it was going to happen. I thought he'd get another year, especially with the recruiting class that
I did too.
has coming in, and we'll touch on that obviously here in a bit. But yeah, man, I don't think we're in an era of college basketball where you're going to get that short of a leash anymore because especially with and Xavier's by no means a mid-major or anything like that, but and they're a Power 6 program, and if you're not succeeding in 3 or 4 years, once you get your guys in there, and especially in today's world of the transfer portal where you can pick and choose, kids who go in there, it's really hard not to produce, Villanova 2 national titles during Travis Steele's, well, not his tenure, but around there, while Steele was on staff. So the Big East produces winners, and Xavier this year, I thought we were finally breaking it. I'm like, this is his breakout year. I thought it was going to be a good year for him, but just to watch them slowly, creep down or struggle down the stretch is baffling. People who were mad about the selection Sunday, listen, you can't win one game in 30 days and it beat Georgetown and have any right to say you should be in the tournament.
Right.
But however many good wins you had aside, recency bias is a thing, and the committee looked at it, right? But that's a whole other story. That's just kind of diving into this year. The overall outside look of it, Xavier's a great job, and it's been a great job because guys like Thad Matta, because guys like Sean Miller, because guys like Chris Mack have made it that way. And I think the next hire, which we'll get into, needs to be someone to bring that back, and there's a clear choice. So that's where I'm at with it. I think Steele, it's hard, man, because he was an assistant at Xavier forever, and then he got his first real job at Xavier. So as for Travis Steele, the head coach, I still think he can be successful. It's just, I don't know if it's going, it's definitely going down a tier. And I could see him in the Missouri Valley, crush it for a few years, and then maybe get another Power 5 job. But I think it's a little while before we see him again on a head coaching line.
And we'll make sure we make mention of this just so, if anyone's keeping up with it. Jonas Hayes has been named the interim head coach while Xavier does their search. And Mo Egger, who's a good buddy of mine, he tweeted earlier that you don't make this move while you're still playing if you don't have someone in mind. And we're
Right.
gonna get to that, obviously. But like I said, like, getting to know these guys, like this sucks. Obviously, I wanted Travis Steele to work out so well because I don't think it's a lack of coaching ability. I really don't. I
Yep.
think he knows basketball. I think he's really passionate about basketball. The conversations I've had with him over the years, like I've
He's
learned so
intense.
much. He's very intense.
Yeah, not in a bad
He's
way. Just like his
no,
answers, like when you ask him something, it's like it's very nice to see because a lot of coach speak and a lot of coaches in press conferences, especially after losses, it's get me the hell out of here. I'm going to say what I have to say, answer your question in as short as possible. But like, and you've mentioned this to me off, not just in passing. When you ask Travis Steele a question, he like lasers in on you and focuses, and like it's a direct answer, and he's like answering your question through and through, right? Like, and that's
yep,
all you can ask for, like with what we
absolutely.
do, and it's very fun. But yeah, I think the basketball mind of Steel is fine. I just think there's not I wouldn't say the culture issue. I don't know what it is, right? It's just sometimes it's not a good fit, right? Like and it's just that's how it is. I My biggest thing is like was reading some of the reports from Rick Broering who ended up breaking the news, I
Shout
was
out
on
Rick getting the break the news. Big
yeah,
for him.
I was on the 247 board, the Musketeer report, kind of reading some stuff on there and you know how fan message boards are in general, but there's some you can
Oof,
get some good
especially that
pieces.
one.
Right. You can get some good pieces of information on there based just like you can kind of read between the lines. The fact that the search was happening before the Big East tournament hits exactly with what you just started this topic with that and what Mo said that you don't start actively having reaching out to a search or a firm when unless you have somebody in mind. And that somebody in mind is who we can get into next, but it it's one of those things like if you have a guy that you're kind of on the fence about and you're starting to look at a searching firm, like a coaching firm, you know he's not going to be around, no matter if they would have beat Butler or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So, real quick, I mean, we're going to obviously talk and focus on one name in particular, but I do want to kind of get into some of the guys who have come up, just to be fair.
Sorry, I kind of immediately derailed that. Jonas Hayes, yes, he is the interim coach right now through the rest of the NIT, correct?
He
He
is, and then it looks like, from the discussions that you sent me, Mike White has a lot of interest, and this is just rumors. This isn't me
Yep,
reporting anything. Has a lot of interest in bringing Jonas Hayes back to Georgia to be his lead assistant.
and I
Which you
think
and I had that conversation. We thought Jonas Hayes might actually be the head coach of Georgia
and
like
I
a few
think
days ago.
that's best for everybody involved, right? Get him back
Yeah,
to Georgia, Georgia guy, along with White, good recruiter. He can help Mike White in the SEC and can kind of give Xavier a fresh start here. Now, the assistants I would keep is Danny Peters.
I think Danny Peters will stay at Xavier.
I Yes, if it's the coach
Um,
I'm thinking it is, he will stay. He will stay.
yeah. So
So
here's some of the names that have come up, just
yeah,
so we can kind of clear them all. Matt McMahon from Murray State's obviously come up.
would be a great
Um,
hire. He's probably
excellent.
he's got to be getting circles in some of these SEC jobs that are opening up. Slash, like I could see him at Missouri, South Carolina, and LSU. But you run the risk of looking at Steve Prohm, right? Went
Hmm.
from Murray to Iowa State. Um, Ohio Valley was down a little this year, but they throttled Belmont a couple times. So sorry, I don't need to give a coaching profile for everybody, but I love Matt
No, you're
McMahon.
good.
I thought he should have got the Louisville job
Which do you want to talk about that before we get out here
at
today?
the
I
end.
think
Yeah,
we
yeah, we
we
can.
can touch on it. Yeah. Another name that's come up that was really interesting was um, Andy Kennedy from UAB. No one's reported interest, but that was a lot of the things that was going around the Xavier fans discussing today. Obviously, UAB had a really good year this year. They were 27-7.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
walked
know
it.
if that. Yeah, I don't know if that could work.
I liked Andy.
I do too.
I think listen, Ole Miss has not been good since he left, and he was fine at UC. That was just a bad an athletic director who did not want him.
Yeah. And then the other name I just wanted to real quick touch on before we get and talk about the biggest one, obviously, is Dennis Gates of Cleveland State has come up quite a bit. Um, as Rick Broering and I discussed last night, we don't want to hear about culture 85 times a press conference. And we
Yeah,
also don't want to see the clear mask. That that is I am all for being
I
safe and taking care of yourself, but that
I saw the
is
clear
whew,
mask getting spiked on the ground last night. Now that was a call that I would have probably spiked my mask too,
yeah.
honestly. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was bad. But yeah, he's got no shot. Like I have no problem saying like, nah, he's all right. He's not coming to Xavier. That
No.
leads to the big one, the white whale, I guess you can call him. So I'll let you talk about that one.
So Sean Miller's name has come up quite a bit as a potential conversation piece of maybe returning to Xavier. I know a lot of people have thrown out Chris Mack, but from everything I understand, Chris is happily going to retire and enjoy his time for a few years.
Had it been another year, 2 years, Chris Mack probably would come back. Fresh off a resignation or firing, he needs time away. A year, 2 years away.
Yeah, and that's a thing.
That's a lot
So
of pressure. That's a lot of pressure on Mack if he does come back, and also if Sean Miller ends up coming back. But that's a lot of pressure on Mack, whereas Sean Miller at least has had some time away to reflect and learn.
yeah, and Sean's always spoke glowingly about the Xavier program. It's
Yeah.
never been a thing like where he left and he didn't like it. And
He had to take the job. He had to take
it was
Arizona.
Arizona. Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Replacing Lute Olson, like, come on.
yeah.
So here's where we had a conversation before we started recording or went live. How many times have you seen look at Steve Prohm, right? I never bringing him up, right? But he left Murray State, super successful, goes to Iowa State, fails. He's not going to come back to Murray State because they have their next guy and the program moves on.
Right.
Sean was fired at Arizona not because of basketball, like the on-court product. His on-court product was freaking awesome, like NBA players and Elite Eights and
Sweet
just
16s
being right.
and
I mean, he's on the doorstep of 2 Final Fours, like, and
at Xavier he was on the doorstep of the Final Four.
Right, and that's where I'm at with just this, like, I had a conversation with a guy at work today that he was like, "Do you really think you would come back?" And he's like, "How many times have you seen a guy leave a program and then come home?" Right? Like, but like this is different. It's different. He's had years
way
away.
different.
I think I think it's the clear 1A, and it's like F is the next letter. Like, he is the hire. There are some things they need to work out, but I think hiring him, Xavier's a top 2 team in the Big East next 5 years and on.
It certainly seems like it makes a lot of sense. And look, if anyone wants to act like there hasn't been like hushed conversations about this, I'm not saying with the school. So I'm not, again, this is not me reporting anything. Yeah, that name's come up quite a bit. It's come up basically since he left Arizona. It's come up since Xavier struggled.
And it's come up with the fan base too. It's not it's
Yeah,
everybody.
the
Bring
fan
back
base
Sean.
has
Bring
been
back Sean, right?
has been very passionate about the idea of Sean coming back here. And, like you said, like, we're not talking like I didn't love how Sean left. I understand why he left. But it was definitely disheartening coming off the game against Pitt in the Sweet 16, and all of a sudden 2 days later he's at Arizona. But that's before I really understood what college basketball was.
You
Like,
have to, and now you understand it now because fresh off not having a head coach the day before the tournament, if they don't have one by the end of next week, recruits are leaving.
yeah,
You got to get somebody
exactly.
in there today to start talking to those recruits to continue to re-recruit them.
Well, you also mentioned, the transfer portal is such a big deal now.
Mhm.
And, for them, look, Jack Nungy has been tremendous for Xavier. He's got a couple years left of eligibility still because of his injuries in the COVID year.
Yeah, before the Final Four, you need a head coach.
Yeah.
That's being generous. Before the Sweet 16, you need a coach because
Yeah.
teams start losing this weekend. They're in the portal Monday.
Mhm.
They will be in the portal Monday if they lose tomorrow or Friday.
Yeah. And, you got to keep your guys in. You got to keep your Jack Nungies. You got to keep your
Yep.
Colby Jones. You got to keep your Dwan Odoms.
Yep.
That's not to say, we just saw this last season when Wes Miller took over for John Brannon. A lot of those guys entered the transfer portal, and a few of them came back.
Yep.
And that's not to say that couldn't happen here too. But yeah, I think
the players have to do what's best for them.
Sure.
And that's what they're going to do. They're going to imagine being a player and you lost your head coach, a guy that recruited you, a guy that built rapport with your family. Like, now you're going to be like, I'm not sticking around because now you're going to have to get re-recruited by Xavier, and then you might as well open up your door to hear other programs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what Xavier fans need to realize, and like this is with any college basketball program, when you lose your head coach, Hubert Davis is a different story because he was on the staff, and so was Travis Steele on the staff. They're really easy to keep him because Steele and Hubert were recruiting for said team before they took over the team. But when you have a whole new coach, whole new program, whole new culture, all that, it doesn't matter about the recruits that you already have in the bag. It's about the future. And if it's down year, it's a down year. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You need to buy into the investment of, okay, if we do get X head coach in 3 years, it's fine. Next year doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. And if you do bring in Sean Miller, I promise it'll be a better year next year. I promise. He's that good of a head coach.
I agree. And like you said, like, everything that happened with him was not on court stuff. It's certainly up in the air, whatever came out of that, and I'm not here to speculate on any of that. But I mean, this is also a guy, and you can make the jokes here. I'm sure they'll come. That those years at Arizona, like he was pulling in and out top 10 recruiting classes every year at Arizona. I
Laura
mean,
Markkinen, Raleigh Hawkins, Derek Williams. I mean, loaded.
yeah,
DeAndre
DeAndre
Ayton.
Ayton,
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I
Parker
didn't
Jackson
forget.
Cartwright, like
Yeah.
really good players. And I know he beat Xavier one point in the tournament. He lost to Xavier one point in the tournament. So
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think Sean Miller makes a ton of sense. I know, the fan base has talked quite a bit that he was at the UConn game, and it was well known that he was going to be in attendance and he was going to sit in a suite because he didn't want to be a distraction to the current team.
Well,
Um,
all things
which
you should do.
great, all things you should do. Um, but I think I'm sure Sean being Sean and knowing what he did there, I'm sure that's definitely interesting to him.
Yep.
I don't have a personal relationship with Sean. I've never talked to Sean, but I can't imagine him not seeing this and like having some interest of being there again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of good memories, right? Like it gave him his big payday and made him who he is. Like, and that resonates with people. He recently moved back to Cincinnati. Like, these are all things that now, if you're on the Steel side of this, you're looking at like, man, this plan was like it's underneath your nose the entire time. You didn't even see it coming. Like, it feels that way. It probably isn't, but there's a case that could be made that like it's kind of happened right underneath. You know what I mean? Happened right underneath of them. But um, yeah, I think it's
Well,
Sean
there
Miller.
was one
Sorry.
point that Travis, before John Brandon got the job at Northern Kentucky, Travis interviewed for Northern Kentucky.
Wow. I mean, right. Steele would probably be elsewhere if he was already at Northern Kentucky. You know what I mean? Because Mac would
Yeah,
like it's a small world. I do think there's a world where Steele comes back as Butler's head coach in like 4 years.
that'd be
But
fun. I would love
yeah,
to see him every year again.
yeah, that'd be a nice little thing. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I think it'll be exciting times to be following it, to kind of keep up with it. I think it's not a known secret, but I think it's just there's a lead candidate, right? And if Miller says no, then it gets real fun because then you don't know who's going to be the head coach. But I think for now, like I think all signs point to Sean Miller, and it's a home run hire for Xavier. That's where I'm at
Yeah,
with it.
we'll see. I hope so. I mean, I hope to see how it turns out. Obviously, with all the openings that we have right now throughout the country, there is a lot
We,
of
we can
rumblings.
touch on these a couple of them. There's
Yeah.
LSU just fired Will Wade,
Yep.
and as a 6 seed, and I didn't realize that in his contract there is if they get another level 1 violation, there's no just cause. Like that is the just cause to be fired. So the board with bringing in a new athletic director, bringing in a new football coach, it's just like okay. But I think LSU basketball will plummet now. I don't
I do
think they
too.
care anymore. South Carolina's open after Frank Martin is fired. Um, I think the guy from Furman is a great candidate for that. They just lost out on Gigi Jackson, the number 1 recruit. They kind of were trying to push him to reclassify to maybe save Frank Martin's job, but tough pull. Um, Missouri's open after DeConzo Martin's fired, and Maryland's
Frank
still
Martin
open.
went to the Final Four. Can we just go make mention that he went to the Final Four at South Carolina one time?
Sendarius Thornwell and PJ Dozier and Chris Silva, 3 NBA players.
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah, I think he's a fine coach. I don't particularly love what he does on and off the court, but I think he's a
Yeah,
good coach.
I
So,
do too.
and the last one, the first job that came open this year, Maryland. They look like they're zeroing in on a guy you're connected to, a fan of. Sorry, Mike Bray.
Yeah.
Which we can have, like 62-year-old that struggles to recruit at Notre Dame is the worry that Maryland fans have. But I think he's a good basketball mind. You just got to surround yourself with good recruiters to recruit to DMV because there's so much talent in Maryland and Virginia to bring in there. And then last but not least, Louisville.
Yeah. So
Being
sounds like it's officially going to be Kenny Payne.
announcing tomorrow at 10 a.m. Good for them.
I'm stoked for Kenny Payne.
Shouldn't have been him.
Who do you think it
I
should have been?
Eric Musselman or Eric Musselman, Kevin Willard. I don't know, man. I'm speaking coming from a guy with a head coach with 0 head coaching experience. When you know what you got on the other end, it's nice sometimes. But Louisville, we're in the year of hiring within the family. That's where we're at in
Yeah.
college basketball right now, which is fine.
Yeah. Kenny
But Kenny
Payne,
Payne,
I think
great
makes
recruiter.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait for Cal versus Kenny Payne.
Exactly. Those are going to be awesome.
Louisville and UK fans are going to butt heads, but Kenny Payne and Cal will not give a shit. They'll laugh it up and chop it up. So,
Yeah. Eric Wood will probably have some more funny videos that'll leak where he's celebrating.
I still can't believe Chris Mack didn't work out there.
I know. if you like, I
Unbelievable.
was talking about this with someone the other day. Let's go back to like 2019. You're told that within a year, Chris Mack's going to Louisville and Mick Kern's going to UCLA. Who do you predict fails and who do you predict succeeds?
Right.
You know,
You're saying all mixed done in 2 years. Getting a payday going out to UCLA. Nope. And he's got a Final Four last year.
good team this year, a top
4
four
seed
seed in the
this year.
tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Um, yeah, so I think we can go ahead and wrap this up. I just want to make sure we got together for a few minutes, just kind of talk about everything. It's obviously, like I said, I'll end it with I'm very bummed for Travis Steele that this did not work out because I really enjoyed my time working with him.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed conversations with him. I enjoyed when I was on the road with the team the few times I was. He took time to talk to me, and after media scrums, he shook my hand in
Yeah.
Charleston after they lost to Florida, and they were bummed out, and it was right before Thanksgiving, and wished me a happy Thanksgiving for me and my family. Barely knew who I was.
Right.
Barely knew. Um, so I cannot wait to see what happens with him. I hope he lands on his feet. It might take a year or two, like you said. But wherever he goes, I'm going to root for that team, and hope for the best for him. So, yeah,
I
man, I'm
I
excited to see how
think
this turns out.
yeah, I think it can be 2 and 2 or they can be the same thing. I think you can be bummed for Travis Steele the person, but happy for Xavier basketball for the future, and that's a good way of putting a bow on it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. Well, tourney starts, well, I guess technically last night,
Yeah,
the two
tomorrow.
first four wins. We've got games tonight. We got some first fours, but yeah, tomorrow, the big day. Pretty excited. You pumped?
Oh yeah, I'm ready. It's I think Friday afternoon. Let me pull it up here real quick while I got you here. Tomorrow is a decent start.
What does
That
Carolina play?
4:30 tomorrow
Okay.
against Marquette. Tomorrow the afternoon schedule. I think Friday afternoon's the money spot. Like that's like the ideal time slot. Tomorrow starts with Michigan, Colorado State, South Dakota State, Providence, Memphis, Boise State, Norfolk State Baylor is the first 4 games, which are 3 out of 4 pretty good games. Then you get to then there's some good ones mixed in, but then you get Friday afternoon. Starts with Loyola, Ohio State, Auburn, Jacksonville State, Montana State, Texas Tech, and then Yale and Purdue. Delaware, Villanova ends the first wave, but the second wave is what I'm talking about. Miami, USC, Notre Dame to Rutgers versus Alabama, Virginia Tech, Texas, Chattanooga, Tennessee, or Chattanooga, Illinois, and Cal State, Fullerton, Duke. That Friday afternoon is the wave that should have a lot of good games. It's great, man. The tournament, you just never know, right? You're hoping for upsets, you're hoping for close games, and they always start off slow, and then it happens like a whirlwind, like just like that. You look up on all 4 screens, there's a game that is tied with a minute left, and it's chaos. So I can't wait.
Yeah, I got to figure out how I'm working, so I got to figure out how I'm gonna. I have the big TV obviously in the basement.
Yep.
I might take the second TV from our bedroom and bring it down.
Yeah, that's
Maybe I'll go
fun.
to Best Buy tonight and buy like a $100 like 20-inch and put it
Yeah, I
down
mean,
here.
you got the March Madness app on your phone. That's something you can
Yeah,
do. So
yeah.
yeah, I'll
Work's
be
gonna be
out.
like, Tim, your Wi-Fi is not really working well. Are you okay?
Be like, I'm not
Great.
feeling well. I'm not feeling
Yeah.
well. Got a little cold, and then boom, you're good. So, but I'm excited. We'll have some recaps for you this weekend. Probably Sunday or Monday. Probably Monday. After the first opening round week, and preview the Sweet 16 for you. But excited. Best time of the year. Best 4 days of college basketball. Before you know, it'll be Sunday night. You'll be laying in bed, being like, "Damn, it's over." But hopefully, everybody's teams advances. But other than that, that's all I got, man.
Yeah. Same here. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you jumping on for this emergency discussion. We're gonna get out of here. We'll, as I hear more that I'm allowed to say or can't or whatever, I'll make sure I keep everyone in the loop. But we are out. Have a good one.